expected it to be, but that's okay. We'll get this started. I'm going to pray, and then we can get our annual meeting going. God, I just thank you for today. I thank you for the worship service and the wonderful sermon we heard and the reminder to grow in you, Lord. And I just ask that you be with this annual meeting and with your church here at Draper as we discuss your business ultimately, Lord, and going over what has happened in the last year. And I thank you so much for all you've done for this church and for us individually. In your name I pray, amen. So I guess I will call the meeting to order. Ultimately, as far as the elders go, we've got a couple things to discuss. But I know we also have ministries in here. Everybody's got the annual report. If you don't, Joey can run a copy to you. I think everybody's got it. There's several people watching from home. If you need an annual report, just stop by the office and get it, or maybe we can email it to you. Joey will run it to you. That's, he likes driving around. As far as the leadership goes and as far as the ministry goes, Justin should be preaching next week. Justin Avery will be here as our preacher, and his family will be here. I believe he should be in the office tomorrow, but I wouldn't give him too much trouble tomorrow. He'll be moving in. So we're excited about that. Anybody else have any ministry reports they'd like to give? I'll give it to Mark then. Nobody else wants to jump up here.
Well, before I get into some other land sale issues, does anybody have any questions about any of the, Chris didn't give too much of an opportunity or strong-arm people to give their ministry reports. Does anybody have any questions about any of the ministry reports that we've got? Okay. Well, you see up on the screen here, I think, generally our property, we came to you a couple years ago with the seeking permission and your concurrence to sell some of our land that we didn't have a full use for. The blue, you can see kind of there in the middle on the left is the church building in the parking lot. The blue lines represent what we now own as kind of 3 parcels of property. At the top up there is the, I believe, 2.5 acres that the metal building, the annex, sits on. The center part, running long ways, is our original 10 acres. And the southern part is an additional 10 or a little over 10 acres that we purchased several years ago. And a few years ago, we sold off 1.75 acres on the lower right corner. We have had a offer or an interest from a buyer, and through some negotiations and back and forth discussions, we've settled on I've negotiated a price and to sell the 3.1 acres that's across the creek that we have trouble getting to. It's landlocked. We can't get to it to use it. We'd have to build a bridge over the creek. We've negotiated a price of $60,000 for that 3.1 acres. And the same buyer is interested in a large piece of our property to the south of the building. And I've negotiated a price of $70,000 per acre for that 7.9 acres. You can see the rough numbers there, 60,000 and 550,000. We did part of that negotiation. Our playground fence runs pretty close to that original south property line. So we have carved off a 25-foot strip. You can see that's what that's represented by that yellow line across there. We've pulled back our property line to create a little bit of a buffer between the new property owner. He intends to build 1 or 2 houses there. He's wanted some residential property. So that's what we've been working on for about 6 months to negotiate. Do you have any questions about that? We would use the proceeds for this. It's been a idea or goal. Yeah, Bobby? We believe so. We believe it's, Kerwin, maybe you can help me out better, or Steve. It's zoned either residential or a light commercial, I believe. We okay. We think that some property across the street where there's an insurance agent and a dentist office or something had the same designation and was able to build that low impact, well, I don't know, even a strip mall. I think that insurance agent building is just a single building. Pardon me? Okay. We, as a neighbor, would be given the opportunity to comment on any change in that. When a neighbor to the north of us wanted to put in a self-storage facility, we were contacted, and many of the neighbors, other residential neighbors, were opposed to that, and we didn't have to take a position. Where was I going? Oh, the use of those funds. We have talked that we would not intend those funds to go into the general operating budget. We feel that we should be able to operate the church out of our offerings, normal offerings. We would use, and we don't have a specific list, but we would certainly tithe to missions, at least tithe to missions any proceeds that we would get. We would continue with our facility repairs and improvements and upgrades. And I say facilities, that includes, stuff like sound systems and the building, just some of the upgrades that we've talked about and desired, the audio and visual systems. So, any questions about, yes, Katie? We probably would put some back into some kind of an investment savings rainy day fund. We wouldn't jump out and spend $600,000 tomorrow. Pardon me? Okay. Any other questions or comments? Yeah, Clinton? Approximately 10 minus 3.1, call that 7, plus 2.5 is almost 10 acres. Yes, we would have the annex land, and I never can point the right direction, plus out to the creek. Not at this, the annex, some improvements to that and modifications are potential to make we would like to have enough, well, I'm going to sidetrack a minute. We've started the process of looking for a children and youth minister now that we've got Justin hired and on board. Chris should have said this while. So, we would love to not have enough room in this building for our junior high and high school kids. They'd have to go, I say have to, I think it's a good thing that they've got a separate building to go to and let their hair down, whatever. But we would use some of that proceeds to improve that area. But we don't have any plans for any buildings, any additional facilities right now. Okay. That's what the I do not know. Who had, do you know about the R2, what'd you say, R2, R3? Will that allow that? Yes. Bob? Those, that my drawing doesn't show it, on this scale you can't really show it. There's a little bit of overlap, and they've talked about a house back there also with some family members. Did Joyce? Yes, we've got all of the 2.5 acres to the north of the driveway. And then you can see, I think you can tell where the parking lot ends and all the way back to the creek. That's still will be our land, yes. Any other questions? Do you all want me to proceed with my negotiations and finalizing a deal on this? Okay, thank you. Will made a motion that we proceed, and Clinton seconded it. Okay. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, thank you all.
As Mark said, we have begun the process of looking at children and youth minister. Justin is calling it a family ministry. Is his desire that it would be somebody that wasn't just focused on children or just focused on youth, but actually ministering to the whole family. We're looking at that as even possibly 2 part-timers. We're just open to see what God leads us. So what we've done is we put it out there on several of the college's websites. There's a couple other websites that Justin knew about for ministry that he's got it posted on. And basically we're throwing a net out and seeing what God puts in the net. And then we'll go from there. But we'll keep you guys updated on that. We are excited about it. We're ready to go. That was one of the first things Justin did. He wanted to have a meeting and say, let's talk about it. I'm ready to go. We got to have this. So we're good for that. Steve, do you want to come up and talk about the budget?
I would, let's see, page 7 is the financials on how we ended for the year. It was a rough year. We were almost $33,000 off of our giving budget. So we had to make several reductions along the way. Mid-year, we were faced with a 16.8% increase in insurance. And so that took the lion's share of whatever plus we had at that point. We only ended spending about $2,700 over what was actually given, so that was pretty good. Lene had to reuse the paper clips, I think, 4 or 5 times. Maybe turn the paper over and stick it through the copy machine again. I joke, but the biggest savings, of course, came in the staff line after David left, and you guys can see that. The budget for next year, we reduced it by $12,000. I think we just didn't feel like we could go back with the same budget based upon the giving trend that we had towards the end of last year. It will take every dollar of this probably to, if we split the roles and hire 2 part-timers, that'll be just as expensive as hiring a full-time person. But, you know, Justin's coming. We're turning the chapter. We're moving on. And so the budget for next year is proposed at $392,000. Anybody have questions on last year, on the budget? I think, Kerwin, we replaced the last air conditioning unit of the old cycle, right? We did that in like October, November. So Jesse actually reduced his budget knowing that we shouldn't have to have any replacements. Which is good. There's no other questions. The proposed budget is my motion. If somebody wants to second it. Will seconded it. And do you want me to go ahead and say all in favor? Okay. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? All right, I'll turn it back over to Chris.
Okay, do we have any other business that needs to be brought up, or anybody have anything? Yes, ma'am. Oh, I 100% agree. That's something we've already discussed. Once we get some applications in, some interest, then we will definitely be putting together a group because we want to hear your guys' voices and we want to go that route. So definitely. Yes, Katie. She said that back when we let David go, we had several people of the youth express a desire that when we're moving forward and hiring somebody, that they would be part of that, at least giving their opinion and meeting with the person. So we would like to get a youth ministry search committee basically together once we get to that point. So. Any other questions, thoughts? All righty, we've got several people out with COVID, so be praying for them. And for that, I will